Unexpected early season rain and muddy conditions creates a dramatic backdrop for exploring the beginning of fall colors in the California Sierra Mountains. Join us as we attempt to capture the life cycle of fall colors over multiple trips into the Sierras. So I had this idea of visiting the eastern Sierras during the fall color season, multiple trips to try to capture what it was like as it changed from the early season to the peak of colors to late in the season when the leaves were falling off the tree. Of course, the very first trip I took out there, I ignored the weather reports, and it was raining the first day. Wasn't heavy, but I did start this route at about the 9,000 foot elevation, and as I climbed up near the 10,000 foot elevation, it started raining a little bit too hard, and it was very muddy on the trail, so I had to turn around, and as it was, I was slipping off the trail quite a bit on the way back down and ended up smashing my fenders and had to repair those later. So this first trip was about late September, and the evenings were just starting to get cold enough that you could start seeing the fall color change. These are what you're seeing on the screen right now is about the 9,000 foot elevation, and you can see where the colors have started with the low ground cover and the scrub oaks. Lots of yellows showing the early change. Later on here, we'll see a few more colors. But it was interesting to see that the fall colors started with the ground cover. And you'll also see some aspen groves that are just starting to change to yellow from their summer green. What I found beautiful about some of these early colors is the contrast between the very green aspen trees that are just starting to change, the fir trees, the pine trees, and then the yellow ground cover just starting to change a little bit into orange. The contrast between those, and it probably helped that this was a cloudy day. It seemed to bring the colors out a little bit more vibrant. This first portion of the video is on the eastern side of Highway 395 in the Sweetwater Mountain Range near Mount Patterson. I found it very interesting that as we'd enter into stands of pine trees and redwoods, there would be these miscellaneous aspen trees, just little stands of them, and the colors contrasting with the dark wood and the dark green of the pine trees just really stood out. I found that very fascinating, beautiful. It is worthwhile to hang around till later in the video to see the rather significant change, both in terms of the fall colors with the trees and the weather patterns. Much sunnier days ahead during the mid-season and late season of this video. As we begin to venture a little higher in elevation and clear from the stands of pine trees, the ground cover is starting to change color. We're starting to see a little bit more oranges, a little bit of red, the mixture of the yellow and orange. Most people, when we're thinking about fall colors, we're thinking about the trees and the leaves in the trees. It never dawned on me that the ground cover would change first like this. So off to the right, up on a hill here, is a stand of aspens. And I don't know how many people understand or realize that when you see a stand of aspens like that, that pretty much is considered one organism. They're all interconnected in the root system. And I remember learning about that. I grew up in Denver in the Colorado mountains, Rocky Mountains, and aspen groves are near and dear to my heart. And when I learned about that, it was really kind of interesting how they can be one large organism themselves. We get to see this view of that grove from several observation points here. And again, as we climb higher, the ground cover is starting to change into deeper oranges, more diverse colors and shades of yellow and orange. It's really kind of beautiful with the cloudy sky and the backdrop of the green forest. And of course the rain is starting to come down a little bit harder now as I'm climbing in elevation, and the trail is starting to get a lot more muddy. You can see here as I come by this tree, I slide into a rut with my left rear tire, and I'm having a little bit of difficult time trying to maneuver out of that as I climb or crawl basically past this tree and back up on the trail. It should have came as a warning. I wanted to come ahead as I climbed up higher into the clouds. As I maneuver through the trees here, if it looks like I'm barely fitting through and maneuvering through these, that's really what's happening. These trees are very close, and fortunately, having a Jeep, it's actually easy to maneuver through here. There's a couple other trails nearby here that I actually had to do a 3-point turn to get around the trees, even in my Jeep. As I'm coming out of the trees here, you can see the rain is starting to come down a little bit harder. I'm starting to get very close to the 10,000 foot elevation and climb up on this ridge. And it really makes for a pretty dramatic backdrop to the left as we start cresting this ridge. I've driven this in the summertime when it wasn't rainy, and I don't remember this looking as beautiful and dramatic as it does now with the rain and the low clouds. So up ahead, hidden by those low clouds, is the last portion of the approach above tree line to the summit of Mount Patterson. Unfortunately, you can't see that right now. And you can see the rain starting to come down a little bit harder. And I'm going to turn around here in a few minutes because it was just not worthwhile or safe to continue on these muddy conditions. I did find out the next morning that Mount Patterson had quite a few feet of snow up on it with this early season storm pattern, so I'm glad I didn't attempt to go further. Now it's about a week later and we're into the mid-season color change. We're going to start seeing a little bit more deeper colors from just the yellow. It's going to be more into the trees now and more into the aspens, not just the ground cover. Give a little bit more contrast to everything around us. Now that that early season storm has passed and we're seeing partly cloudy skies, it's a lot brighter and the trees are standing out, the colors are standing out now. Today we're on the western side of 395 up on the side of the Sierra Mountains. And again, we're right around the 8,000 to 9,000 foot elevation here. We'll be climbing up around 9,000 at the highest during this portion of the video. There's a beautiful section of aspens that are coming up here on the right that have really changed to a nice, beautiful orange color. You can still see a little bit of green in there going through the change. This trail lies between the Virginia Lakes area on the south and Twin Lakes area on the north. It winds its ways through the foothills of the Sierras, It's very scenic, very picturesque, both to the east looking into Nevada and up west into the Sierras here. It's a very fun, enjoyable trail that just about any high clearance vehicle could traverse. It took me longer than I expected to get back out to try to catch the late season color change. And this is late October. Actually, I think this was November 1st, the day after Halloween. And you can see there's still some beautiful golden yellow in the aspen trees. A lot of leaves have already fallen off. It was actually quite warm for November 1st. I think it was 73 degrees when we were out here this time of day. Beautiful sunny day, not a cloud in the sky. We really enjoyed this trip. We did not encounter anyone else on the trail on this day. This time we were back on the eastern side of Highway 395, back in the Sweetwater Mountains, up near the state line between California and Nevada, and it was later in the afternoon when we were capturing this section of video. Even though many of the leaves had already fallen off the aspen trees in this grove, they were very pretty lying on the ground, contrasting with the rocks and the trees, the sunlight shining off of them. I really enjoyed this portion. I felt like I was driving through a tunnel of aspens. The duration of this video in calendar time is actually only about 5 weeks. It was a lot shorter fall color season than I expected. I was hoping for a longer season this year to really enjoy the weather, but we did have some rain come in sooner than expected here during the month of October. We encountered this last little section of tunnel of aspens, and as we came out of those, we were rewarded with a beautiful section of aspen trees with lots of leaves still on them, and the late afternoon sun shining on those trees. I sincerely hope that you enjoyed going through the life cycle of the fall colors this year in 2025. We appreciate you watching us, and we appreciate any comments, feedback, likes, or subscriptions you can do to our channel. Thank you.